Hey, good afternoon for those of you on the East Coast. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast. We're going to get started right here in a split second. I'm not seeing anything in chat, so I just wanted to make sure that it's working because usually I see a flood in the chat. Um, Gus, do me a favor, just text me really quick. Let me know that we're there. I'm going to go on the assumption that we can see audio and visual is good. So chat might not be working, or it just might not work for me, which is totally fine. Um, but I think actually, Gus, I just saw your thing, so I think we're good to go. Let's go ahead and get started. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Neil McDonnell. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to my daily LinkedIn Lives, where I provide process and procedures for you to achieve success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market, and since 2018, I've been teaching folks like you that government contracting is not a secret, it's just a process. Process goes from A to Z, and when we follow the steps in between, the start and the end of a process, we achieve the success or the outcome that we're looking for. In most cases, it's sales, right? Today, we're going to talk about how to find ideal opportunities, ideal federal opportunities in particular. And so we're going to deep dive into that. If you haven't been here before, I like to go at a fire hose speed, but it's a lot of good information. A lot of times, I'm able to give you specific tactical advice that you can follow immediately after this training. Before we get started, do me a favor, help buyers and me remember who you are. Put your company name and your core competency, 2 or 3 words, in the chat. Let us know who you are. Let the people in the community know who you are as we go forward. Thanks for everybody who's putting the chats working and the all good. I appreciate that. So we're going to cover 3 things in how to find ideal federal training or how to find ideal federal opportunities in today's training. I want to cover how to define your ideal opportunity, how to get others to tell you about opportunities, and then end with how to find actual ideal opportunities. Before we get too far into that, though, I want to start with just an introduction of understanding why it's important to be finding ideal opportunities. And so I've got 6 reasons on why it's important. There's many, many reasons, but I just want to touch on some. One is that you'll know what opportunities to go find. If you don't know what an ideal opportunity is for your company, then you just start looking everywhere and responding to everything and get pulled everywhere. This is classic with 8A companies where government buyers and helpful people will start pulling them in different directions instead of helping them really create a focus for the 9 years they're in the 8A program. And that's what I want you to do is think about tight focus. It's why I say, what are your 2 or 3 core competency words, keywords that define you? So one reason it's important is that you're going to be able to know which opportunities to go after, which ones to find, and not just suspect which ones are good. The next one is internal resources will be focused, right? It's one thing to focus your effort as a salesperson, if that's where you're at, but you also want all the people working in your company to be focused. Some of you on this training are in a 1-person stage. Others of you are, easily in the 30, 40, $50 million companies. And so wherever you're at, though, you have people you're working with, and inside your company, you want them to be focused. If you could have an ideal federal opportunity that your company is trying to pursue, then your graphic designer, your technical writer, your pricing people, all of them can be focused on supporting the sales efforts for your company. Imagine what it's like if you have 10 different opportunities that are unrelated to each other, how a graphic designer might struggle to get the best graphics that help with your business development activity or really make a proposal sing. Imagine what that's like when it's 10 different opportunities. Now imagine if all 10 opportunities were in the exact same core competency. Let's say it was all about painting, or it was all about cybersecurity, in particular red teams, for those of you on the cybersecurity side. So internal resources will be really focused. The people who are doing pricing can nail down that basis of estimate, the pricing that goes in, the labor categories that go in, when they're focused on the same labor categories over and over again. So it really will help internal resources by you understanding what an ideal opportunity is for your company. Another reason going with the internal is the external. External relationships will know how to help you. There's people out there like me who would love to be able to help you. But if you don't make it easy for me to remember who you are, then I won't help you. Not because I don't want to help you, but because you haven't made it easy. But you'll hear me today use SharePoint as an example. It's because this company, Bay & Group, has made it very easy for me to remember what they do. They do far more than SharePoint, but SharePoint is a word that I've locked in my head with them. And because I happen to know about it, I bump it up a little bit and I say Microsoft 365. But it's important that your buyers, and other external relationships know this about you. What's 2 or 3 key words that describe your company? When you can tell us that, you can tell us your ideal opportunities, and then perhaps we're able to help you find those opportunities. So number 4, I don't know if you're counting here, but so the first 3 were about, let's just call it process. The next 3 are about money, right? So number 4 here is it'll increase, when you know what your ideal opportunities are, it'll increase your win rate of proposals, up to 1 or 2 out of every 4 that you submit. You should be able to have a 25% win rate out of the proposals you submit. If you don't have that, I would argue that it's because you're submitting proposals that aren't winnable because you shouldn't have submitted them. But there are many, many proposals for many, many millions of dollars that fit right in your sweet spot. And I want you to just understand, what is your sweet spot? What is that ideal opportunity? When you know it and you write to it all the time, the likelihood of winning goes up. Number 5, predictable sales pipeline forecast. And what this means is that you have a sales pipeline. It's going, opportunities go through the pipeline. Your company, you in particular, moving an opportunity forward, but your company needs to rely on the pipeline that out at the other end of a factory would come a car. Well, your pipeline at the end of that pipeline factory, if you will, is a win. And your company needs to be able to predict the wins so they can make financial decisions like, who are we going to be hiring? Should we be doing the hiring now? Where do we want offices? Do we want to expand our office spaces? Are we looking to spend money on increasing people's certification? Whatever the financial decisions are made at a company level, much of it comes from the reliability and the predictability of your sales pipeline. When you know what ideal federal opportunities are for your company, they go into your pipeline and a lot more come out as wins. The last one, and why it's important to understand or find your ideal opportunities, is that you're going to get to the stage where you can make money or sales every 12 weeks, right? I say that you should be able to have a predictable set of wins coming in every 12 weeks. And this is independent, for those of you who are in this world, of all these opportunities that shift to the right. In the sales profession, we don't care about opportunities shifting to the right. That is part of our job. That means we need to have more opportunities in there to account for the things that are shifting to the right. But at some point, you have enough in your pipeline, independent of the things that are shifting to the right, like delayed. Shifting to the right, by the way, means delayed dates by the government. At some point, you have enough qualified or ideal opportunities in your pipeline that the wins will start coming, or the awards will start coming, right? Some losses, some wins, but you'll be able to predict a regular set of money coming in every 12 weeks, a regular set of wins. I expect to win something every 12 weeks. I expect to hear about something every month, loss, win, whatever it is. But at some point, I should be winning on a predictable rate. And if I'm not, I go back and evaluate it. But when you know your ideal opportunities, you can get to that stage of really seeing quarterly wins. That's what 12 weeks are, right? Okay, so if this is ringing true for you, I'd like you to put in the chat which one, not all of them, but which one rings most true with you at the moment. You came to this training for finding ideal federal opportunities. And I just said some of the reasons that are important. I want you to pick one of these, is that you'll know what opportunities to find, or perhaps internal resources being focused is what you care most about. Maybe you care most about getting external people to help you most. Put number 3 or whatever you want. Number 4 here was increase your win rate to 25% or more. The next one is have a predictable sales pipeline. So it's not just having increased win rate, but it's actually being able to count on what's going through the pipeline to be coming out on a regular basis. And the last one is I want to win every 12 weeks, really is what that last one was. So go ahead and put that in. Thanks, Bonnie. I see that. It's funny. If I just tell you myself, I would pick probably predictable sales pipeline forecast, because if I have a predictable pipeline, and yours doesn't have to be this way. I'm just thinking personally, this is what I would have. If I had a predictable revenue and it would predict that I'm going to make 50 bucks, I'm like, at least I'm able to forecast what I'm going to make. And then I can get it up to 500 bucks and 5,000 bucks and 5 million bucks or $5 million at that point. We use a different word. I like the predictability, and that's what I teach you here, and that's what I'm trying to drive. Okay, so let's talk about how to define your ideal opportunity. In here, it's really important to think about the core competency. I go back to this on all training that I do, that we must focus. And in this particular case, we're talking about focusing down on core competency. So one of the first things you want to keep in mind when you're defining your ideal opportunity is that your company, you need to be a subject matter expert at it. So for example, today, the example I'm going to use is SharePoint and Greg, right? That company is a subject matter expert at SharePoint, right? Holistically, they are. Individuals are in there, and what they can post and talk about, all of it is around Microsoft and SharePoint. So that company is a subject matter expert in their core competency. What are you a subject matter expert at? What core competency can you claim a SME status? That's one way of understanding what your ideal opportunity is. Whatever you're best at, that's what your core competency is. You can have a couple of related core competencies. So if I use Greg and SharePoint as an example, Microsoft 365 is the umbrella platform for SharePoint. He can easily be both, right? And so he can use those two words because it's still the same. Rafa might be talking about elevators, but also general building construction in there. So understand those 2 or 3 words lead you to the core competency, but it's where you're an expert at. The next one is your company has past performance. You need to be having made money at this in order for you to have been a subject matter expert, which leads it to being the definition of an ideal opportunity. An ideal opportunity for Greg is SharePoint because they are experts at it. They're engineers and they're certified in that technology, but they're also making money at that. If you're newer to the game, you can use your own personal job experience. If you just started a company and you're just coming in, well, you are the SME, one person company, right? You are the SME, and your company past performance in this case is you. And this is why I say go team with a subcontractor. Don't go into the agencies yet, but go team with a subcontractor. A small business as a prime contractor. Okay, so how do you define your ideal opportunities? Your company's a SME, your company has past performance, and the last one is your core competency aligns to this opportunity. And by the way, at the end, I'm going to show you a whole bunch of opportunities when I share my screen that show exactly what I'm talking about, how I can look at things and see, oh, this one aligns, this one does not. But number 3 on defining your ideal opportunity is that ideal opportunity will align with your core competency. If Greg says his opportunity his core competency is SharePoint, then the opportunity must not only have the word SharePoint, but it must scream, I am a SharePoint opportunity. And now you're aligning it. And so I want to find SharePoint opportunities because that is ideal for my company. That is an ideal opportunity that we can win over and over again. Hopefully this is making sense. By the way, if you didn't do this earlier in chat at the beginning, put your core competency in. Just 2 or 3 words. If you already did it, don't worry about it. But if you haven't done it, put it in so we can all see yours. I did want to show you a graph really quick of what I'm talking about. I think it is this guy. So the graphic I'm showing, the reason I'm showing it is I just wanted to point out that when you think about the ideal opportunity, I'm really talking about visibility here, right? On the left-hand side, you should see visibility. And from a visibility standpoint, you want people to know what you do. That's why I'm saying define your core competency. And the other part that we're talking about on the 7-step process is it leads to the opportunities. So visibility is clarifying what we do, what our core competency is, what our SME is. And you can tie that right over to leading to ideal opportunities, the top of the circle coming in. So let me come back there. So hopefully that made sense on how to define ideal opportunities. Let's go ahead and talk about how to get other people to tell you about opportunities. So one of the first ways you can do this, and it's one of my favorite, is just be creating content on LinkedIn. You can create it anywhere, but I'm just saying LinkedIn since we're all on LinkedIn. You can create content out there on a podcast, YouTube, your website as a blog, but create content around your core competency that shows people that you are the subject matter expert, right? When you're creating content that says, I used Rafa earlier as an example, and I'll use her again here. I don't know if she's on today, but um, when you look at something she might create, she could create a piece of content that says how to evaluate elevators for safety and energy efficiency or something. Some quick little 1 or 2 page white paper or whatever you call it that she could put out there and share it. And as buyers and teammates are looking around and they're consuming content, since we all consume it, they begin to see something she says because they're interested in the content. And then they see her company as that company that's providing that expertise. And so if they're looking for more information or want to find somebody to work with related to elevators, they're attracted to her. And so they might be coming and telling you about an opportunity. Another example is your 6 marketing assets, right? I talk about these all the time. There's 6 marketing assets you have. And Gus, maybe you drop a link into what is that marketing asset, but what are those 6? But basically, you have your DSBS profile, your capability statement, your capability briefing deck, your website, LinkedIn profile, and LinkedIn company page. Those 6 are marketing assets that are out there doing marketing for you passively. And so part of it is just creating it, right? Visibility. But the other part is about getting it out in certain places. DSBS is in a place already because the dynamic small business search is part of the SAM small business profile. And anybody who's looking through that tool will find you and perhaps then tell you about an opportunity. They're doing market research as a federal buyer. They find a company like yours. But you also want to get into supplier portals, right? You have all these large prime contractors who might be supporting the Navy or HHS, and that might be your target agency. You can get into their supplier portals, put your marketing assets in there. You can put thousands of characters of keywords, searchable content, so that when their buyers, capture people, business development people, et cetera, are looking for a company like yours, your marketing assets are in there selling for you, and they make you visible to those potential buyers. Then those companies will come to you, perhaps bring in an opportunity. Hey, we have this opportunity. We need a small. Hey, we have this opportunity we'd like to go after, but it is set for a small and you're in our portal. We'd like to talk to you. Now you've got people bringing you ideas about opportunities. And so those are kind of more lucky ways where I talk about LinkedIn content. You hope somebody comes back. Marketing assets, you put it out, you hope they come back. The last one I want to give you are strategic partners and 7 mentors. So these 7 mentors are, again, we can give you a link to those, Gus, in the chat. But the 7 mentors basically are what I describe all those people who are trying to support us in industry. So you think about PTACs, women business centers, small business professionals, PCRs, the procurement center representatives, veteran business centers, SBDCs, and I'm missing the last one. I feel horrible because it's probably, I hope it's not me, like GovCon Chamber, but Gus, go put it in and let us know. But these 7 mentors have a strategic relationship with them where you're talking to them every 2 to 4 weeks, no longer than 4 weeks, but you want to talk with them, build a relationship with them so they know who you are. If you're talking to a PCR and the government is coming to the PCR, like the contracting officer is going to the procurement center representative saying, hey, we can't find any hub zones that are doing SharePoint. Well, if that person knows who you are, then they go, what are you talking about? I know Bain Group does SharePoint, right? Why don't you go talk to them? And so now that opportunity is being brought over and being made visible to you by one of these mentors. You should have at least 7 of them lined up. When I say strategic partners, I did a whole nother training on this one that we'll give you access to. But here, strategic partners are teammates. So they're large primes and small primes that are out there that you have built a strategic relationship with. You're working with them every 2 weeks, having recurring meetings out there with them, and you're talking about opportunities that you might work together. By having a very good relationship with them, they might be bringing you opportunities. And so it's a way to get them to bring you opportunities. So anyways, I'm going to move forward. I had some things I wanted to show you on this, but let me just tell you instead of showing you. But it's really important to remember when I talk about that VTO graphic I showed a minute ago, helping others tell you about opportunities touches on visibility, make sure they see you, outreach, they've got to know you. So go knock on their doors or get in their supplier portal, whatever. And then relationships. Make sure you're meeting with these people, especially the people who could help you the most, the 7 mentors and your strategic partners. So that's how to get others to tell you about opportunities. Let's talk about how you can go actually find ideal opportunities. And I'm just trying to give you a few tips, right? This is a very fast training that we're doing on a topic that I could easily talk all day, right? Just on how to find ideal opportunities. First thing I want you to understand and make sure we all agree is that contract vehicles are not opportunities. Not at all. I don't believe they should even be in the pipeline. I don't believe BD and capture people in particular should be able to report on those. And here's why. Because they don't bring any money in. Task orders bring money in. Opportunities bring money in. A contract vehicle is just a license to farm, not hunt, farm. If a contract vehicle is going to come out with a task order, that's an exception, but still that task order would go in the pipeline. And so don't get yourself distracted thinking a contract vehicle is opportunities or that will lead to money. It will not. It's necessary. We do want contract vehicles, but treat that separate than ideal opportunities. Ideal opportunities have dollars they'll bring into your company, which is what we're really trying to do as salespeople. So let's talk about 3 ways that you might be able to do it. And then I'm going to jump over to showing you. First thing is agency forecasts, right? So you can look at an agency forecast and begin to identify opportunities that might fit for you. If you don't see an agency forecast, you can always reach out to a small business professional and inside of an agency of choice. And even though they don't have maybe a formal one to put out, those small business specialists tend to be tracking on opportunities. Dave Walsh is in here pretty often, and he is he's somebody who talks about opportunities. Hey, we're tracking on this one, we're tracking on that. So that's an example of a small business professional who would share an agency forecast in maybe an informal way because it just hasn't got out there formally. SAM.gov is another way, obviously, to go in. Not all opportunities go in there, but you can go into SAM.gov and find opportunities. And then you can go into equivalent to SAM.gov is contract vehicles like Seaport NextGen has its own portal for opportunities. The third one, though, that I wanted to share is paid resources like GovWin and other similar tools. If you're making less than $1 million or not really making money, don't get GovWin. It's just a waste of money. And also, don't go get an office. Just work from home without GovWin and go team up with small businesses. But if you're making $1 million, $500,000, $1 million or more on a recurring basis, then a GovWin subscription is a normal cost of doing business. And so I love it. But remember that it's just another version of Google, right? It doesn't do business development. It doesn't do capture. It just kind of serves up information and you need to chase it down. That said, though, let's go ahead and look at it. When I switch over, I'm going to switch over really quick and show you some screens that I have open. But as I do, tell me, where do you find most of your opportunities? By the way, don't tell me where you could find most of your opportunities, but if you have a pipeline, spreadsheet, or you're using a fancy tool, it doesn't matter how you're tracking it, but how do you find most of the opportunities you have? What one way? I'd be curious about that if you put it in chat. And I'm going to show you a handful of opportunities and how I triage them. Let me just share my screen really quick. Okay, so I'm going to go through pretty fast because we don't have a lot of time. Excuse me. And again, I'm not trying to teach you GovWin. I'm just trying to teach you how do I look at an opportunity that's SharePoint related, since that's my example today, and decide in or out pretty fast. So I'll just tell you, over in GovWin, I'm searching SharePoint and Navy. Those are my 2 things that I'm looking at. You can see it up here on the top, SharePoint and Navy. And so when I searched for SharePoint, Navy, and active opportunities, 14 came up. One thing to be clear is this is just my first pass. I would go through doing 20 or 30 other variations of searching. In the Navy, I might search for flank speed, since that's another kind of word for SharePoint. And so maybe they put their stuff on and they just say flank speed, not SharePoint. But anyways, 14 opportunities came up. I'm like, okay, let me go through them. And I just want to show you how I do this pretty quickly. If I come in here, I instantly just jump to the description in GovWin. Just so you know, I ignore, in this particular case, I'm really kind of ignoring the background. I'm trying to drive down to quickly see if they show me what the work is. So down here, I'm seeing maintain. Let let me see if I can highlight it without doing stuff. So maintain Microsoft SharePoint 2013 and 16, which is awesome to me because that kind of tells me maybe they're on-prem, which means their computers are housing SharePoint instead of in the cloud. I'm like, wow, there's opportunities. Here it's talking about some of the integration. We do that, but this is the one that sold me on this opportunity. It says develop complex applications. So I'm not going to think too much more. This goes into my pipeline. I still have to go through the normal life cycle for all of these opportunities, but this one, first blush, looks like an ideal opportunity because it is SharePoint and it's related to developing applications on it and related to maintaining the portal and the platform type stuff. So that's good for me. It's a keeper. This next one, I'm going to do the same thing. And this one's pretty fast for me, right? It's provide SharePoint administration and management and customer support. And it describes as defined in the PWS. I don't need to go into the PWS to know that this guy's going into my pipeline, because one way or another, this fits for me, even if I don't go long-term, because the entire first bullet talks about support SharePoint, just all through. So this is not SharePoint a little bit as part of this opportunity. This opportunity is really 100% SharePoint, and there might be little one-offs, if that makes sense. So this guy is a good one for me. I'm going to come in here to this next one, and I'm not even really looking at the titles, but this one says I think it should say multitask records. I don't know what it is, but KM support services. We have a KM tool, and I like that. So I'm going to come in, and I'm coming down here to the requirements. And this one I like because this requirement will entail the following, right? Facilitate records management, knowledge management. We have a fantastic knowledge management tool. They've got to be at least interested in having a dialogue, right? Lead the execution and automated SharePoint rollout for records management in there. Well, I've done this for a 100,000 user environment twice with a DoD compliant SharePoint solution. This is an ideal opportunity. I know where I just said I've done that before. That's another reason this is a good opportunity for me. I can look and I don't have to rationalize why it should go into the pipeline. I just feel it. It instantly feels good. And that's what I mean when I say an ideal opportunity just pops right out. So this is a cybersecurity one. You see this? I'm SharePoint, but this title, it came up in the search. So, okay, let me go see what it is. It's 25 million. And let's see where it's at. So there's the background. Here's the requirement. So I'm coming down and they're talking a lot about risk management. And I'm looking for something in here that talks about, well, what's the SharePoint part? And very quickly, just getting down here, it says the government information will provide oversight in accordance. Oh, I grabbed the wrong one. It says here, the SharePoint sites will be maintained, developed and transitioned to SharePoint. So what this tells me right away, because I read this ahead of time right up here, everything above that last two lines is about cybersecurity and risk management framework, et cetera. That's not me. So I might connect with Jim, who's doing cyber and wants to go after this stuff. And I know he does RMF and ATO stuff, and go in and go, hey, you know what? We can handle this SharePoint stuff down at the bottom. We can knock it out of the park. The likelihood of a security company doing SharePoint is pretty slim. This one here, I'm going to put into my pipeline because it's an opportunity I could team on, right? And there's one last one I just want to show you. I don't know where it's at. I was trying to find it. Maybe it's here at the end. This one. So this says SharePoint. I just want to use this last one because we're out of time. But this one here, I'm going to say no to, and I wanted to tell you why. First off, it didn't jump into a lot of SharePoint, right? It said it in GovWin and some of the description. It lured me in, right? Clickbait. But when I got in here, I'm like, it's not for me. But this was a massive flag for me. When I see something where the government is telling me the scope, right? The tasks, the requirement, and they're telling me the amount of hours, the cost. Well, this tells me that this is basically just a pricing exercise. My company doesn't play in LPTA, the lowest priced, technically acceptable. I don't want this because guaranteed they're going to get bids in there. And so it's a waste of my time to go after it. So I know this from my activity. I'm going to bail on this one. Let me stop sharing and come back here really quick. So anyways, as I go through, if I know my opportunities, and in this scenario, I was hoping to show you more ones that look like SharePoint, but they're not. But it doesn't matter because you see how confident I was when I look at something that I know it's SharePoint. I know I have the past performance. Hey, I can do this stuff. Hey, I know we blew through a lot. I've got like 1 minute. Oh, time's up. So I want to end because I always end on time. But if you want a handout of that graphic I'm showing you on the 7 step process, just put VTO handout, please, in the bottom, and I'll do that. And then the other thing is, if you found value, give it a thumbs up. Remember, government contracting, it is not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you in the next training.